Lesson 102, problem solving. I know that that's your favorite type of math, am I right? Nobody's here to contradict me, so that's what I'm going to go with. Problem solving is the best. All right, but in all seriousness though, I'm going to go through an example. I'm going to help you. It's not going to be difficult. If you listen carefully, if you follow the instructions, you should be able to make it through today's problem solving lesson. So this is an example that is in your book. I retyped it for you and I've drawn a little picture to help us understand what's going on. The question says, the diving board is 8 feet above the surface of the water. Here in my picture, there's the diving board, 8 feet above the surface of the water. The swimming pool is 10 feet deep. So you'll see here I've drawn some water for you. Here's the bottom of the pool. Taylor, so somebody named Taylor, dove straight down from the diving board and touched the bottom of the pool. What is the difference between the height of the diving board and the bottom of the pool? All right, so we have a couple of important numbers here. We have an 8 feet and we have a 10 feet. So our information told us that the diving board is 8 feet above the surface of the water. So we'll have the surface right about here. And the swimming pool is 10 feet deep. Okay, now what we're going to be working on today is integer equations, which means you should be thinking about positive and negative numbers. And if you think way back to our introduction of integers, we did some talking about representing different ideas with positive and negative numbers. So positive numbers would be for things like if you have money. Negative number would be something if you didn't have money, if you had lost money. We also did some talking about how positive integers would represent something above. If you think about temperature, for instance, that's the one we're most used to. You have 0 degrees, and then we have the positive numbers or the positive degrees above 0, or we have negative degrees below 0. So here's one of those above and below numbers. So we have the diving board is 8 feet above the surface of the water, so that one can stay a positive 8. However, this one down here, because it is below the surface of the water, we're going to represent it with a negative 10. Okay, so we have two numbers. We have an 8 and we have a negative 10. Okay, now what we have to do to find the answer to this using an integer equation is to think to ourselves, what is really happening here? Now, actually I should pause for a minute because I'm sure a lot of you are thinking to yourselves, well, duh, Miss Nothoff. We have a 10 here, we have an 8 here. I know that the distance from the top to the bottom is 18 feet. You are correct, okay? But the point of today's lesson is working with positive and negative numbers to come to that answer of 18. So you're right, it is the correct answer. We're going to come to 18, but we have to understand how, with integers, we can come to that. So we have a positive 8 and a negative 10, okay? If we look back up at our question, there should be some more important words that we should highlight, okay? So we know that Taylor dove straight down from the top to the bottom, but the question at the end is, what is the difference between the height of the diving board and the bottom of the pool? In math, difference should always make us think of subtraction. Okay, so when it says, what is the difference? Think I need to be subtracting here. Okay, so we have now as our equation, 8 minus negative 10. And you should remember how to do that from our lessons on integer subtraction. What we have to do, let's maybe change color here, is we leave the first integer, we switch the middle sign, and we switch the sign of the second integer. Okay, now you'll notice that really what ended up happening is we did 8 plus 10, which is what we were doing originally, but it's important to know and understand how these integers worked to get us there. So we ended up with an answer of 18 feet. Okay, so for today, the equation is going to be as important as the final answer. Okay, and in the answer key I'm going to post, I'm going to have an equation and an answer, so you need to have both of those things written down in your notebook. Now, a word of warning. Some of you, when you're doing your exercises, you may be tempted to think, here I have a positive 8 because it was above the water level, and we have a negative 8, which is representing the space below the water level. I'm just going to do 8 plus negative 10. However, if you do 8 plus negative 10, you end up with a negative 2 feet. You have to think to yourself, does it make sense that somebody has gone from the top of the diving board and down to the bottom of the pool, and the answer would be negative 2 feet? You cannot dive negative 2 feet. It doesn't make sense. That is a clue that you have done something wrong. Make sure your brain is switched on when you are doing these questions. They may look simple, but really spend some time thinking about it. Because the question said the difference, you had to think about what is the difference. You had to do subtraction. All right, so a word of warning there. And then another quick review, some helpful hints, some reminders of negative integer words. As you are reading your word problems, if you see words like this, debt, loss, below, owing money, withdrawing money, a drop, something going down, think to yourself, I need to represent that with a negative integer. All right, then a couple other things about your exercises. Each of your assigned questions is going to involve positive and negative integers. I chose those ones on purpose because then you could think to yourself, if your answer does not include both positive and negative integers, you are doing it wrong. So if you end up with a question with just positives in it, no negatives anywhere, think to yourself, I'm probably not doing it the way Miss Nyhoff wants me. Also, as your answer, I should see a full equation, question and answer, and then also a sentence answer. Okay, so an equation with an answer, and then give me a short sentence at the end that answers the question. And once again, thinking to yourself, is my answer logical? Does it make sense? And I know that this will make some of you very happy. You do not have to use IDEA. This is all I need to see in your books.